Let's talk about credit cards. These are a common way to borrow money, but the problem is they can be a trap. Does anyone have a Visa savings debit card? So what is, I'll show you mine. They look like that, but they say debit on it. Whose money is that? Yours. Okay? What money is on a debit card is yours, and you're just withdrawing it from the bank. The problem is a credit card looks exactly the same. The only difference with a credit card is it might say 10 grand or 5,000 in the corner. Whose money is that? The bank's. So it can be a trap because they might appear like a savings card and they trick you into thinking it's your own money. But we have a problem in Australia. It tends to be the poorer end of society. What they do is they get in trouble with a credit card and they end up using another credit card to pay that off, and you've got these layers and layers of interest. And you get into credit card debt, and then you might have to have bankruptcy and stuff. Okay? My tip to you is avoid using a credit card, because whose money was it? The bank's. If you can't afford something, don't buy it. The only thing that you should be borrowing money for is a house. Okay? Or maybe if you're desperate, a car, because what does a car allow you to do? It allows you to get to work and earn money. But if you're borrowing money to buy a phone or a TV, you couldn't afford it in the first place. Okay? Take it from me. I'm loaded. I didn't do any of the credit card stuff. I probably should have, though, because do you know what credit history means? Credit history, when you purchase stuff, you always have a record of when you buy stuff and then pay it back. Okay? And then banks can access that credit history when you make a big purchase, like buy a house. The problem with me is I never had a credit card. I only had a Visa debit card. So I didn't have a credit history. So when I was buying a house, they asked for truckloads of information. Right? I had to dig for the info to prove that I could pay that home loan off. But if I'd used a credit card maybe like once, then I'd have like 100% credit rate. So what my tip for you would be to get a credit card, buy something extremely cheap, and then pay it off instantly, and then cut that credit card up so you never use it again. Because if you paid it back, what's your credit rating going to be? Excellent. So then it's like you power level, you speed run the high level rating. That's my tip to you. That's got nothing to do with maths. That's just a life hack. When you purchase stuff with a credit card, it can be used to purchase items on credit. That's what you call it. So, there is no set of steps that you use a credit card in order. It's just stuff to think about. When you're using credit card, each month you receive a statement. These days it's just online, covering all the purchases that you made in the last 30 days. From when you get that email, you have 25 days from that statement date to pay back the money you used. Then you don't pay any interest. You just pay what you spent. If you go beyond the 25 days from the statement date, you're going to be charged simple interest on the daily balance. So if it's on the daily balance, that means T is going to be something over 365 from when you purchased the item in the first place. Not from when you were late, from when you bought the thing in the first place. Can I ask you please, can you get that first box down? That's not maths yet. That's just to keep in mind. But the actual maths you're doing here is not any different to what you've done before. It's just simple interest. There's just extra things to think about before you do the maths. I'm going to move this over here so that you can still copy it. But I'll talk about that board. This is the closest thing to actual steps that you need to do for credit card. The best steps for answering credit card questions is, firstly, credit card questions is the only question type where you don't count the first step. If you've done the timeline work, like savings accounts, let's say you withdrew something on the 15th, we counted 15, 16, 17, 18, etc. The only time where you don't count the first day, so you go 15, 16, 17, see how I didn't count the 15, is for credit cards. The purchase day is not counted when you're dealing with credit cards. That is different to all other counting in this topic, alright? So, what's the best way to deal with it? In most of this topic, you're counting including the very first day. It's only credit cards where you go, okay, my cheat sheet, all right. Credit cards, skip first day when you're counting numbers. The interest-free period is the number of days between your purchase and 25 days after you get that statement. If you pay late, interest is calculated on the number of days between purchase and when you actually paid it back. And if there's multiple things that you purchase with a credit card, you need to do them separately. Alright? And you get this notes down, and then we'll do an example together so you see how it works. Then I'll leave you alone for 40 minutes to do those practice, and then I'll teach the last thing, which is line of credit. That is recording, isn't it? When you're an adult and you've got accounts with banks and stuff, you randomly get credit cards in the mail. Like, come on, you can spend this money. It's 10 grand, just like that. Legit. You just ignore it, you just chop it up.
So you buy one thing, one cheap thing with it, and then...
Yeah, and then leave it alone. And then you come. Then you've got a history that's perfection. It wasn't actually that much trouble for me not to have a credit history. It just means they asked for more pay slips. They just wanted proof that I was earning a lot of money, that I'd be able to pay it back. Whereas with a credit history, it's like this history, this score tells you that this person can pay things back because they did this. Let's do Kyra Lee's example, and then I'll leave you alone for like 40 minutes. Kyra Lee purchased a laptop for $450 on June 15th. She used her credit card with an interest rate of 16.9% per annum. The statement covering this purchase arrived on June 27th, which is giving her 25 days, that's until July 22nd, to pay no interest. So, Sometimes it's good to highlight or underline stuff that is important. Is it important that it was chirally? Does that have anything to do with the maths? No. Is it important that it was a laptop? Is it important that it was $450? Yes? We're talking about dates here. We're talking about counting days. So June 15th, is that important? Yep. We're dealing with a credit card question, so you're already thinking. This is the one time where I'm not counting the June 15th. I'm counting from the 16th onwards. She used the credit card interest rate of 16.9% is very important. The statement covering this date came on the 27th, which is 25 days. You're told, lucky for you, you're told when 25 days ends. It's July 22nd to pay no interest. What is Kyralee's interest-free period on the laptop? The interest-free period is the number of days between purchase and the 25 days after the statement. When was the laptop purchased? The 15th. But in credit cards, how do I count? You skip the 15th and then you count. Do you remember me drawing hands on the board to work out how many days there are in a month? Can someone help me use that to work out how many days there are in June? January's a knuckle. February, March, April, May. June's between. So how many days are there in June? 30. So how do I count? Because this goes into July. June was 15th. I didn't count. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So how many did I count? 15. June was 15 days. How many days in July? Lucky for you, the question tells you, because it says you've got until July 22nd. So I just counted to the end of June was 15 days. If I've got July 1st to 22nd, how many days is that? That's 22. If you wanted to check, count it with your fingers. So that's 22 days to pay it off. So if she pays within this number of days, she's not going to pay any interest. So what would I do with those two numbers to work out what her interest-free period is? Add them together. So therefore, 15 plus 22 equals 37 days interest free. If she bought on June 15th and she's got until July 22 to pay it off, you've got overall 37 days where if you pay it back, you're not going to pay any extra. You're just going to pay back the $450. Right? Find the interest paid if she pays back before July 22nd. This relates to the last question. What's the last day that she can pay and pay no interest? 22nd. This question is asking, what is the interest paid if she pays back before July 22nd? No interest whatsoever. No interest. I don't need to calculate because it's before the 22nd. Before 22nd July. However, find the interest paid if she pays back on July 25th. Is July 25th late now? If you pay late, interest is calculated on the number of days between purchase and when you actually paid, not the number of days between 25th and the last day. No, it's between 25th and when you bought the thing. So, June was 15 days. And if you paid it back on July 25th, how many days was it in July? 25. So overall, therefore overall 40 days to pay back. Now we do the maths, which was, if you go beyond 25 days from the statement, you are charged simple interest on the daily balance. So SI equals P. How much was the laptop? 450 times 5. Can someone remind me what R stood for in the simple interest? The rate as a what? Good. And I'm not just going to write 16.9. I'm going to go 0.16. 0.169. So 0.169 is the rate times by, and I've told you here, it's on the daily balance, so T is going to be something over 365. Because is 40 days more than a year? No, it's a fraction of a year. What fraction of a year? 40 over 365. So, calculator. Do bed math, so I need to work out what 40 divided by 365 is first. Oh my god, Samsung. Just roasting Samsung. 40 divided by 365 is a decimal. It's just on my calculator right now, so I've just worked this out. Now I can times it by 0.169. There's another number. What do I need to times it by at the end? Which I haven't done yet. Times by 450. So that tells me $8.33 interest. And you're probably sitting there saying that doesn't seem like much, but that's not what you're supposed to pay back. What are you supposed to pay back? And that on top. So suddenly your laptop, which was supposed to be $450, what is that actually costing you to not get $458.33, okay? And that was only being 3 days late, right? That's credit cards. So I'll stop the video there. I'm going to leave you alone.